Hello and welcome to the 11th episode of the PowerLess podcast. In this episode, I get to talk to Benny from Avoid. Um, this one was super fun. I was a little nervous beforehand because this is kind of a bit of a step up when it comes to the reach for a guest or kind of a up and coming, bigger, national and world touring act. But Benny was like seriously one of the nicest people, one of the most generous people in a conversation, and it really flowed. We didn't use hardly any of the notes that I had put down to do this. It was more of just a flowing conversation. Benny is probably one of the most charismatic and enthusiastic people I have ever talked to. It was really great to chat with him for about an hour and a half. We actually just had to cut it off, or we could have kept going for probably over 2 hours. But again, it was just like a super great conversation. We talk about some of their music, some of what got him into music at a young age, some of the influences he has, kind of the motivations of the band, and how they're kind of a little more lighthearted and a little more fun and energetic in a very serious genre in some ways, with kind of the metalcore adjacent music. And again, it was just super fun to talk to him. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode. You can find this on YouTube, streaming platforms, yada yada. I don't know why I'm mentioning that because you're already watching it, but yeah. So again, thanks for checking this out. If you want to connect with me on social media, you can find us at the PowerLess Pod on all social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, and Instagram as well. You can also reach me through email at thepowerlesspod@gmail.com. And again, it was just really great talking to him. I'm going to keep this intro short because it's a bit of a longer episode. So I hope you enjoy it. Here is Benny from Avoid on the PowerLess podcast. All right, and I was going to ask if it was okay if you weren't too weird about me having a beer on here, so I'm glad you feel the same way. Hell yeah, brother.
I always like to have a beer when I'm chatting.
Yeah, me too. It's just it works well, right? It works for the
It's
aesthetic,
like
right?
You're sitting down at a bar with someone, right?
Yeah. Just through a screen, right? But all right, so for anyone that I guess I should talk to people that aren't here. I'm talking with Benny from Avoid, lead singer of Avoid. I just asked you, but again, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's been beautiful up here in Seattle, actually. It's been like weird because it's like cold still, but it's just been amazing weather and like still it's warming up. It was warm today, but yeah, it's been great, man. I'm enjoying it.
I am jealous. I'm in Northern Illinois, and
oh shit,
and
yep.
Tomorrow I think we're supposed to have a wind chill of -30. I think is like what the deal is. So
yeah, I'm super good on that.
Yeah, right? No kidding. I do not want to wake up for work tomorrow. But anyway, we're talking about Avoid today. I wanted to say, so I found out about your band through a few different things. And when I was researching this, I found out about a few cool things that you've probably talked about in interviews and stuff before, but like,
You're good, man.
I'm out of the loop when it comes to social media and stuff sometimes, for better or for worse. But I first found out about your band because I was listening through a Silent Planet record, which is one of my favorite bands. And, the deal on Spotify where something ends and something else pulls up, and Flashbang came on from your EP that came out in 2020. And I was like, dude, this fucking rips. Like, what is this? And it was a band I'd never heard of before. It was you guys. It was Avoid. And I was like, I got to do a deep dive on this band. You guys, it's not like you were brand new. Obviously, you had a record before that and an EP and all that. But it just sounded so tight, so big, and so anthemic. It reminded me a little bit, not like it was a copy of anything, but of another Seattle band I'm super into, which is Dragged Under. I don't know if you're...
Yeah.
And I was just kind of that anthemic, like, just hit to the gut fun energy, which I think we'll get into later, but which I feel like in 2020, especially when I found out about your band, was sorely missing from the quote unquote metalcore community. And I love the seriousness of metalcore, and I love, like I said, Silent Planet, one of the most serious bands I think you can think of when it comes to lyrics and all that, right? But it just really drew me in, and this new record you guys put out, Cult Mentality, was just like it blew me out of the water with both the versatility and like having a good time, also having serious lyrics and everything else.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. I figured I'd start off by like just totally like, totally complimenting you the best way possible, right? But
hey, I'll take it. My ego needs it, you know.
But to start off, we'll get into the newest record and a few songs and some of the cool viral things that happened for you guys during the pandemic and all that. But to start off with you, Benny, I know you were a drummer to start. You also got into music really early and all that kind of stuff. Can you tell me, just for people that maybe don't know, where music kind of started for you? You can go back as early as you want. Where you got into music, what got you inspired in music initially, and what got you into like kind of heavier alternative music or whatever else as well?
Yeah, so I always like loved music. It was just like something that like when I was a little kid, I was always like dancing and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm talking like maybe like 3 or 4. Like I was like the kid that like got all the pots and pans out upstairs and made a drum set with the spoons.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And and then like even like before preschool, when there was like a day, like couple hour thing that you take, like I was in one of those and they couldn't get my hands off of like the drum thing in the corner. Like, so I was always, I guess, even before I mentally even realized it, I was just always attracted to music and even drumming and rhythm specifically first. And like, that was always just something that I loved. And it was so cool. And, so I always was like listening to music growing up. My parents, like, they're not musical themselves. They don't play anything themselves, but they love music. My parents are just the ultimate fans of music, and they always music playing in the house, always playing the best stuff on road trips growing up. Like going to concerts was always like a big deal in the family and stuff like that. So they love music. So it was always like it wasn't like I thankfully didn't have to deal with the whole, like, they didn't get it at all. Right. Like my mom and her friends would go like fucking sneak into like Judas Priest concerts at the Coliseum in Seattle. Like they were all about it. And so it's like, thankfully that made the transition really, I mean, there's always I don't know if any parent ever wants to hear, I want to be in a band.
Right. Absolutely.
But you know what I mean?
Scary,
it's
right?
like,
I would get it from a parent angle that you're like, there's a lot of uncertainty there, right? You know,
and it's like when you're young, right? You're always like, "Fuck you, mom and dad. I can make it. I can." But I don't know, as I get older, I'm glad I got challenged, right?
Yeah,
because it wasn't. Thankfully, it wasn't like horrible. Like you hear some stories are like really bad, where it's like, couldn't play music at all, and if you ever did that, it was like a fucking. But it was more just like, are you sure you want to do this? Right. And then it's like, which is a fair thing. I would, dude, if I had a kid, the first thing I'm like, and they told me they wanted to be in a band, I'd be like,
you
sure
you want to sleep in a Walmart parking lot in a 15-seater that was made in 1990? Yeah.
Like, here's what you're signing up for. Right. And so I'm so grateful that and now that we've been in it for a while, like they're so about it and they're so supportive. Like my parents are like everyone's parents. Like we still practice at their house, and like they're like
sick.
And then like before tour, we'll always come and meet up for dinner and stuff like that. And they're really about it. So I appreciate my parents. So started with my parents. They got me into music, and so I'm grateful for that. And then I got really into I was always into like just little music things, and even just like as a little kid, like all of like the little kid shows that had music in it. But when I was about 6, 7, maybe. I'm 24. So when I was 6 is when American Idiot came out. For Green Day.
Yep.
And so that was like my formative record as a very young kid. Like it made me fall in love with everything about alternative music and alternative culture, and it what started the pipeline for me, because through Green Day I found fucking so many bands, and there's always like the great punk debate of Green Day, right? Which is stupid. They are the most punk rock band of all time. And they like, I don't know. I don't have it's cool that they made punk mainstream and made kids like me get into it.
Well, yeah, and it's not like, you think about American Idiot. It's not like they weren't pulling. It's not like they were pulling punches on the lyrical content of American Idiot. Like, it was one of the biggest record. It was the biggest record in the world when that came out, and they were talking about politics, right? Like they weren't like sitting there singing about
like really edgy lyrics, especially edgy. For like 2004
on a major record label playing in front of
and they were still getting award shows and Grammys and stuff like you can't fucking tell me that band isn't the epitome of what punk is and should be. But that I just fell in love with that band, and it really just sent me down the pipeline. And for a while it was like that. I would like dress up as Billy Joe when I was a little kid, and like I had like a toy microphone and like my shitty guitar, and I would pretend to be him. And I had all the live albums on CD, and I would like learn even like his frontman banter. And that's where I learned how to be a frontman, is literally putting on those Green Day records and just trying to copy Billy Joe. And it was always just like a bedroom dream. You know what I mean? I loved it as a little kid. And again, I'm talking like 7 years old, 8 years old. And then I think when I was 8 is when my parents got me my first like kid drum set, like one of those first act, like one cymbal, like $80 Walmart drum set. You know what I mean? And boy, I played the shit out of those, man. I loved it. And I didn't care that it was shitty, man. I just loved playing drums. And I didn't care that I didn't have the big, like, I was just grateful to have something. It was better than the fucking pots. Before that, I was literally using drumsticks in my pillows on my bed. Right. So to have that was the next step up. And then, I forget what year it was, but when I was like early middle school is when my parents got me my first real drum set for Christmas.
Can you tell me the brand? Do you remember the brand of your first set?
It was a Gretsch Catalina Birch.
Hey, that's not bad for your first real drum set.
It's not a bad kit. My dad found it for a deal on Craigslist. It was used, and so it was like all in, and it was it was awesome, man. It was great. I had a full dry. I had 2 toms, but I took the one off because I didn't want it, and so I had my standard setup, and then I had 2 cymbals and a hi-hat, and that's how, and I would play drums all day, all night. I would just play my favorite band's records. And then by that point, I was out of the like pretending to dress up and play in front of my stuffed animals phase. And I was just fully in love with drumming at this point. And it went from pretending to be Billy Joe in front of the stuffed animals to I would put on a Green Day record or the Used record or an AFI record or a My Chemical Romance record. I could talk about bands for days. I love music so fucking much.
Hell yeah.
And then I even got to the point where I would like look up those bands like set lists that they were playing live, and I'd make playlists of that, and I would like pretend to be like the drummer of that band. So it went from fantasizing about to like I actually had a drum set, and then I was fantasizing about being the drummer of these big bands. And so I guess I'd always thought about wanting to perform and wanting to be around music, and it was like literally from as little as it gets. And then following that up, and so then high school, or actually, well, late 8th grade, I was in choir class in middle school, and I wasn't like I just never even thought about being the front man of a band at that point. Like I was pretty cool with being like a drummer. I loved playing drums. I was in drum lessons. It was just what I was a drummer. And then one day in choir class, we got passed out music, and the bottom of the music had drum and bass, or drums and guitar on it. And so my friend that I started the band with, Nick Mihas, he's not in the band anymore, but he was a huge part of I was in his wedding a few years ago. Like he is still absolutely, like, I love that guy. And I mean, he's why I can be here today. So Shout out to Nick Mihas we started the band in 8th grade.
Hell yeah,
never going to forget that, buddy. And and basically we convinced our choir teacher to let us be like the music accompaniment for the choir for that song.
Sick.
And so with that, we then went over to we got to go into the band room, which was a separate room at the middle school during choir class. And there was no band during that period. So basically Nick and I just had this band room to ourselves. And we learned, it was a super easy fucking drum and bass accompaniment. We learned the song in one day. And then we had to, it was just like it was so fucking simple. And then we had a month to learn it and rehearse it. And so we would just like the second choir class hit, we would run through the song once, and then we'd spend that hour like jamming and learning covers and writing shitty 4-chord punk songs. And that was because I had a guitar too. And I'm not going to say I'm a guitar player by any means, but I learned how to play a bunch of Green Day covers. So I love a fucking power chord.
Hell yeah.
And so we were just writing like shitty fucking power chord fucking stuff. And so in middle school now we're in the timeline. That's where my roots are. But now I'm starting to get into like the Warped Tour scene and stuff like that. Like the first band that I remember finding, and I remember the moment finding it on YouTube, was the Paraphernalia music video by Pierce the Veil.
So good, right? So good. So good.
Fantastic. So fucking good. And I believe I was in 7th grade when I found that. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is crazy. And like, you know what I mean? It was like the high vocals.
Yeah, that first, sorry, I didn't mean to, but like that first, because that was the first time I heard that band. I'm a few years older than you, so I think I was in high school when I heard that. And you know, you hear that double bass, double bass beat coming in, and then you just hear that. I'm not gonna try to sing it, but like that's. You know, you're just like, you're like, holy shit, this riffs. Like, what is this? You know, because I had listened to like punk and emo and stuff, but like I hadn't gotten into kind of the post-hardcore metalcore-ish scene, and that was kind of like the same year that I heard that song, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is so goddamn good. And the video was so entertaining. You had like Jeremy McKinnon like yelling on the fucking phone. And oh my god, so much nostalgia right there. That brought me back. So
dude,
great.
If I had a time machine, I would love to like go back and relive that moment for the first time, being my like 11, 12-year-old self.
Oh, absolutely.
And that feeling it gave me, like that's like the drug that's like the high I think I'm still chasing.
It's the energy, right? Like it had so much energy to it, and like it's like it's such a good song, such a good melody, but there's something about like it just kicks you in the face every second of the song.
So good about picking up the pig.
Yeah,
oh my god, dude,
so good.
It's fantastic. So that was the gateway drug to everything alternative that wasn't like again. I was just into the early 2000s punk, pop punk. I fucking loved every Green Day, Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, All American Rejects. I mean, the list goes on. Any band in that realm I loved. And then so there was like two pipelines that happened at the same time, because through Green Day. They always talked about their influences, right? Like Rancid and fucking even before that, like the Ramones and stuff like that. And so that was where I heard those names for the first time. And then you find that, and you find Operation Ivy, and then you find all these just like amazing like 90s Bay Area punk bands. And overall, it's just like, so I'm finding that. And then at the same time, I'm finding like Pierce the Veil, Warped Tour, stuff like that. And I'm also, again, I'm like 11 or 12 years old. So I don't realize I'm getting into very different niche, like subcultures. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know, old head punks aren't really like listening to new age post-hardcore.
They are so mad that Warped Tour became post-hardcore. They're like yelling that it's still not less than Jake, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Like, less than Jake, but you get what I mean.
I know exactly. Yeah. And so I don't even realize I have not learned about scene politics yet. So I'm just in love with music, and this is why I have the music taste I have today, because I didn't care about all that stuff when I got into it, and so I didn't know that it is cool to like all that stuff. So fuck whatever norm that is. But it's like, I didn't know that it wasn't cool. You know what I mean? And I don't fucking, why is it that way? I don't care. But like, so I'm getting deep into like niche ass, like punk bands and crazy ass stuff. And then I'm getting into like fucking the most cookie cutter metalcore, Warped Tour, Pierce the Veil, Memphis Mayfire, Sleeping with Sirens, Motionless in White, like all of anyone that would play the Monster Energy stage, I was all about, man.
Absolutely.
And so
that's that's so many, like you bring up the Monster Energy stage, like people, you would go, I would go to the Chicago one, which was like, it was all right. Like it was cool. Like it was huge, but it was at an amphitheater. And so like they had to break it up kind of weird or whatever. So like the main stages weren't as cool because they were in the amphitheater, or the Monster Energy stage, it was like massive. And like, I remember seeing like Bring Me the Horizon there right after Sempiternal came out. Yeah. And just like, they had more people there than the main stage. Like it was just like so good. You're absolutely right. That's what you went to, was the Monster Energy stage. Yeah,
I know, but it's just funny you say that. It's always funny to hear how people's Warped Tours were laid out, right? Because so I was the same thing. My Warped Tour was at an amphitheater, and we had like the big. But they would, for the amphitheater, they would split like the like one of the like the Scholl Candy and the fucking Kevin Says or whatever. It would always change year to year. Right. But they would split like the smaller stage in half on the amphitheater stage, and then they'd put the two main stages in the parking lot with the longest seat. And so like I like that had to suck. It was cool that they still let they still let us do like the big main stage stuff. That's kind of weird. It's weird how they would break it up like that. But yeah, back to the point. So I'm getting into just so many different things. And again, I'm just in love with music at this point. And so I'm literally, all I'm looking for, and even still to this day, all I'm looking for is something that makes me feel a certain way, that I like, that has a good melody, that has a good this. If it's catchy to me, I'm into it.
Right.
And I don't give a shit what genre it is. I just want it to be good. That's all I want is shit to be good. Because I think that doing things like identity politics are bad always, as a blanket statement. I'm not going to get into politics yet, but identity politics are horrible.
Right.
And it's horrible in the music scene too. It's like, shit can be cool, and shit should just be cool and good, and all that I think a band or a thing should be judged on. I mean, yes, the character of your don't, like, aside from like the people that are getting like, get shitty people out of the scene.
Right. Yes.
But
that's a quality control thing. That's not an identity thing. Yes.
But as far as like finding your identity as a band and as a fan, I think all that matters is what's good.
Yes.
If it's good, it's good, and it's good. A good song is a good song is a good song.
Yeah, I've said that verbatim on this podcast to somebody before. That I was talking to the guy that literally like he's toured with emo bands, but he kind of makes country-esque music. And we were like, and he was like, it works well. Like people like it at the shows because you know what? People like it when somebody sings a good hook and sings a good song and plays guitar well.
You can't deny something good.
Like,
you can't deny if something's good.
No. Absolutely.
Dude, country was honestly my revelation over the last like few years. And like, because I was always cool, like I would always be like, especially like high school, like, oh, I like everything but country.
Yeah.
No. And then I don't know, like on like touring is what like I'm already on this rabbit hole, and then we got to get to like modern day shit. Like touring really opened my mind because it's like, and I'm one of our main drivers on tour, and so I'll just fucking bust out like an 8-hour drive shift and just listen to the most niche random ass shit I've never heard before, just trying to find something good.
Right.
But I don't know. I just think, that's all that I think we all, good shit is cool. And I've always thought that. I don't know, man. It's just like, it's funny how that works.
Absolutely.
You know?
And like, it's like one of those things you get, I think like everybody, when they're in high school, middle school, whatever, like they all think they find the genre that's good. Like you said, you brought up,
don't get me wrong. I had my elitist phase. I for sure.
Anyone that says they didn't are lying to themselves.
I was a little dickhead, like 17 to even like early 20. Like I was that's stupid. I was the guy that wanted, it's like
I wanted fuck right before a breakdown every time when I was like 17 years old. Like that was exactly it. Yep.
And it's funny how now, like honestly, I think some of my takes now, like my 17-year-old self would be like, what?
Yep. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I really like to have an open-minded approach when it comes to honestly all of this stuff, because like, and they've been kind of getting sidetracked, but as a little tangent, like the biggest thing that I've like learned from like getting to be in a band and the little bit of success that we've had, which isn't much on the grand scheme of things, and there's a lot that we could go and a lot that I still want to accomplish, but what we have done and what I have learned is that it's like you have to be the shit. You can't expect stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You have to have goals and aspirations and stuff like that. But if you want a very, very specific thing, I don't know. I mean, and not to say it's like, because the biggest thing that I don't think is preached enough is success is subjective.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Being
successful to one person is totally different to another person. And some bands are fully content with just touring in a van, and maybe they don't fully ever have commercial success, and they have a little DIY fan base and they work day jobs at home, and maybe they get older and they tour once a year still, and that's just their fucking thing. They're successful.
And that's beautiful.
Why is that not success?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that and in their eyes and in their whatever, like that's as successful as Bring Me the Horizon.
Right.
Like you don't know. I mean, look at Anvil. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Look at fucking Anvil. Like that man had the tiniest bit of commercial success, and then we're like, no, we're never gonna stop. Like, and just drove into the ground to even get like, but I don't know, like there's something kind of beautiful about that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I just think having an open-minded approach to all of this stuff is really important, because the biggest things that have ever happened in Avoid's career and my career have been completely unexpected. Never even in a million years thought that would happen, or even that I would want to do something like that. And so
absolutely,
you got to enjoy the ride, baby.
Yeah, well, that's where like, and it's so, and that you talking about all these things in this way like fits so perfectly with the energy of your band, like kind of what your band's about, especially with the last record and everything else. Like, it's not like you guys, you know, like obviously clearly you look at the lyrics you write and you look at like some of the things you've done. It's not like you guys are like, you don't write serious things or you don't talk about serious things or something like.
Absolutely.
But like you've got songs like one of my favorite, what got me like where I was like, this is a band, like next time they come around in Chicago, I'm going to try my best to go out there and see them is I heard that song, Whatever, where like I was listening to the record because for whatever reason, Spotify doesn't send me singles when they come out. I just like find the records, you know, algorithms are bullshit. But I was listening to the record and I heard like the buildup and then I heard the robot voice thing. And I was like, oh, I know exactly what this song is going to be about before the lyrics. This is amazing. Like it's satirical as shit. Like or it's like, you know, like it's kind of like either a joke on yourselves or a joke on like the genre that you probably also love. Right. And
it's literally all of that. Yeah. It's all of that. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed. It's definitely not supposed to be mean. Right. It's supposed to be funny, and I definitely called some shots, but like it's all in good fun. It's like it's definitely not bitter or coming from a place of bitterness in any way.
It's just saying like, hey, we're doing something fun. We're not sitting here acting like we're fucking Led Zeppelin, right, or something. And even then, like whatever. Like that's not. I'm not trying to do like a qualifier. I just mean like you can make music, take your music and your craft seriously, and still be like, you know. Like just not taking yourselves so seriously as people and reminding yourself that like music is supposed to be enjoyable and fun and like
that's exactly
that
it.
Song, like I guarantee that song just rips live because it's still like you're making fun of a genre that you're in and yourself a little bit while still making a great catchy song in that genre. You know, it's like a metalcore song. You know,
thank you. Yeah. It's cool to hear you say that. And honestly, like, I think I've said this before, but I don't care if I say it again. But what I think is really cool about that song that not everyone gets from the first listen, which is like how I like things to be a little bit vague because the biggest thing that I want, and like I said, if you want to find the meaning and where we stand on things and all of that stuff, you can for sure find it. We're not quiet about it, but I also don't want that to be the thing I shove in your face. I want the music to be the music, and I want that to be whatever you need it to be. Mm-hmm. If you're having a great day and you need this to be a happy song, I want that to be that for you. If you're having a horrible day and you need this to be your fucking get through your bullshit song, I want that to be that for you. And again, so I wanted to leave it up to our fans or listeners or whatever it is. If you want to go in deeper or even ask questions, so like I said, we don't hide it. It's out there. But I don't want that to be the very first thing that we're judged upon. I want it to be about the music first. And whatever you need the music to be for you, that makes me so happy. I don't give a fuck what it is. Even if you totally don't get the song and like, wow, you completely missed the messaging on that one. I don't care, man. Do you like it? Right. Does it mean something to you? That's fucking sick to me.
Well, and that's such a good point, because like, even if you're making super, like some of my favorite bands of all time are bands that have like super serious lyrical content, right? Like Rage Against the Machine or Stray from the Path, or like a bunch of different bands like that, or Silent Planet.
And some people don't realize some of our songs are, some of our happiest sounding songs are crazy sad.
What's the? I'm so bad at song titles, but the
you're fine.
Beach Party, the
Hostage at a Beach House Party.
That's the word I was missing. Hostage at a Beach Party. Like that song, you listen to it,
crazy serious,
crazy serious, and yet the song, like the energy of it is fun. Like it's.
And do you want to know what's funny about that? Is and I totally, you didn't even finish my whatever point. I'll get back to that in a second. No, you're fine, bro. I don't give a fuck. We're just talking. But what's funny about Hostage is so that was a song that I had basically everything done for that song and wrote the lyrics, and I knew it was a more serious leaning song, and so I had all of that part of the song was already written, and I had the chorus and I had the melody, and I just couldn't think of a good tagline. I couldn't think of that hook. I had the melody, I had the da 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 da, like I had that, but I couldn't think of what it was. And jokingly, we were over because we wrote that song. We wrote the burner like a year and a half before it came out.
Right. That's the one that, because it you said, I think I remember seeing like you had said that you wrote it in like mid 2019, right? And then
it was summer of 2019.
Right in the middle of COVID, right? Yeah.
Well, because we already had a plan to release the album through COVID, and basically we were just kind of in a position where we knew a lot of bands were shoving their record and but we were also like, we're not really shit yet. Like, we don't really have any legs to stand on anyway. Like, who's to say people are going to give a fuck about the record whether we do it then or whether we do it now, we didn't. But at that point, and this is well before any of the actual little bit of steam we got from the burner, but we had a little bit of underground buzz at that point. Right. And I think there was a lot of underground eyes waiting to see what our next move would be. And we felt like waiting until like obviously we didn't want to do it at a bad time, or we wanted to kind of see where everything went and stuff like that. So we weren't going to be the first people by any means, but we knew at a point in time, we had the realization that it literally nothing, like, we got to just take this chance. Like, and it worked, thankfully. It's like, and that's really why we were able to get our foot in the door on things like radio and even NASCAR and stuff like that. And a lot of the huge press outlets we got, like, yes, partially is it because we are a good band, and I'm not even trying. Like, we are a good band, and I know that about us. Yeah. But we didn't. It partially had to do with us being a good band. That's how you get it even. That's how you even get your name in the hat, right? And then another part of it was really just good timing, or lucky timing, even, because we didn't know we had our plan set early COVID that we were just going to stick to it no matter what happened. We're just going to, here's our release. We made that plan like a close to a year out of when the singles were going to drop, when the release date was, and all of that. And we just stuck to it. And that was when opportunities like that, you also got to remember, we're not fighting with a bunch of giant bands releasing stuff. And things like Octane and those press outlets, they still need to run stories, especially then. Like, internet's king right now. And now, you know what I mean? Foo Fighters and they're not getting those kinds of things, and you need something. Right. And thankfully we were here.
It was like a weird time where, in a way, like, you're right, like so many bands, bands that were maybe like just above you guys or further when it comes to like a reach or whatever else, like they did, like there were so many, and I understand where the mindset was, whether it was a suit or whether it was like the actual band or whatever. I'm
not like, talking shit on anyone that made that. I completely understand it.
But if you guys played it right, I think where like there was a period of time where people, everyone was at home. Everyone wanted music, especially people in this kind of genre of music where like there's always an up and coming band, or like the bands that are kind of at a bigger level. They're not bands like those legendary bands that release one album every 5 years or whatever. You kind of expect like a record every 18 months a lot of the times, right? And that wasn't happening.
Sooner now. Sooner now. I mean, you're expecting
singles, EPs, fucking like an album every
every year. I mean, it's really,
Content is
even
crazy.
like
Yeah.
a lot, like the biggest bands you're seeing are doing an album, and then 8 to 12 months after the album comes out, they typically have another single all ready to go, whether it's a standalone or whatever it is. It's like, you got to keep people's attention.
Yeah,
it's the most important thing.
Yeah,
it's the only thing that works.
And that was happening before COVID. And then during COVID, it was like there was this certain time where I think Burner came out, where like there was this kind of stint of time where like there was a big lapse where people were like, I don't know what you want. I don't know what we want to do. Like, are we going to put this out? We don't know if we can tour on this. Are we going to make any money on it? And you guys put that out, and it was a great idea. It was a great idea to do. You know what I mean?
Like the argument from the suits, and I'm not even talking shit again. This was such uncharted territory, right? And not all the suits, but like the industry argument to not put out music is because the record cycle, and it's been slowly getting phased out to what it once was for a while. But still, it's you put out a record every fucking 18 months, and then you tour the fucking world the second that record drops, and then press outlets and all that go hand in hand, and whatever else you can get. But it's, you put the record out and you tour for 18 months, put a record out, you tour for 18 months, and that was the thing. And everyone was so nervous for valid reason. It's completely uncharted territory. So that was the like I'll tell you, that was the argument. It was we can't tour on our record, and we don't know how that's going to be if we can't put a record out and then go see our fans. And it's also a big, I mean, most bands, especially in the age of streaming and stuff like that, like obviously if you're massive, you can still make a thing off of it, but bands are making their money touring. That's where the money is. And post COVID, it's a lot harder even there with the prices of everything now. And it's like that. So it's all uncharted, you know?
Absolutely. There was a guy I had on just the other day that he put it perfectly, and he was like, I don't want it to be this, but it is this way. It's just, I don't mean to sound like a business person, but he was like, you used to go tour to promote a record. Now you put out a record to promote a tour. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, that's just how it is. And yet, like, it did work for you guys to put out that release in 2020 in a way that it did feel like people were just really missing that like fun energy at a time that like everyone was like,
it was a very depressing time.
You know what I mean?
It was a very depressing. I mean, we needed it. You know, we even need like. I mean, I'll tell you right now, doing the Burner record release and those label calls and having something to work towards was the only thing that got me through COVID.
Yeah,
I'm so fucking grateful I had that, because I know, I mean, not everyone even had that, but that was 100. I was thankful, because obviously it was a depressing time, and but I was able to put just a lot of that energy into focusing on putting the release of the Burner and just trying to shift that focus rather than just, I mean, obviously I had my good month and a half of just being drunk all day and like, what's going to happen? But then getting that motivation again to work on the Burner, even though especially April, May, I mean, it was so uncertain there for a few months, having that to work towards, and that being like, fuck whatever else is happening, but this is going to be my main focus at the end of the day, and making sure that this is successful. It was, I mean, I was really grateful we had that, but yeah, it was really crazy. And thankfully at that point too, everyone had started innovating with the live stream concerts and stuff like that. So we were even able to do a CD release show that sold incredibly well. And that was, honestly, that's still probably one of the biggest crowds we've ever played to. And it was online.
Right. Well, that was such a interesting thing to get out of COVID. If people wanted a positive thing out of a worldwide pandemic, was with the alternative music scene, you know, and I can only just speak to like this sort of scene, or like some of the streams I watched, like your guys' or Silver Scene or Silent Planet.
You got to give all the
or Seven Dust or whatever.
Code Orange was the pioneers of that.
They pioneered that shit, and people like ran with it. Yeah,
I think, but if anyone forgets, you got to remember, Code Orange deserves all of the credit. I mean, I can't, as for sure for the alternative scene, and I would say that they set an example for even the scene beyond. Literally, the day the country shut down, they were able to switch that night they switched their CD release show to a live stream set. They were the only one that was able to do it that fast.
Yeah.
They deserve all of the credit for innovating that.
And
it's
such a good
fucking
band.
amazing.
Such a good band on top of it.
Such an amazing band.
Yeah, and like you saw where like stuff like that, or like you guys putting out a record, and I'm sure like the response online when it came to, you know, merch things or whatever else you were doing were probably like inspiring in a lot of ways, because people just needed to feel like, a lot of people that are into this kind of music, they love it for the live shows, they love it for the connection, they love it for the fun and the energy, right? Like it's kind of like, you know, there's so few things, not to go all like hoity-toity, but like you know, there's so few things in the world nowadays sometimes that feel like community, you know. Things get so divisive, things get so crazy, and for some, and in some parts for good reason, right? But like,
Yeah.
but like music like your guys's, or bands like yours and that kind of alternative scene, like in COVID times, or like lockdown times I should say, really, you really saw where that community was, where it felt like, you know, pre-COVID, you could kind of say the bands were there really, really working for the fans. And like you guys were still doing that during pandemic times, but like a lot of fans really showed up in remote ways for bands during COVID, and it was like a pretty inspiring thing. I didn't think I was gonna see when that all
it was
happened,
huge. And I mean, you even go back to, there was a lot of bands that like fundraisers to still pay their crew and stuff like that, right. and how successful those were. It was really cool. And I mean, to this day, I think you're always going to see it. I mean, the metal community, even, and fucking, I'm not, we don't know the Currents guys, but I saw their guitar player has cancer and his GoFundMe, and to see how quickly that GoFundMe was able to raise a lot of money, and everyone came together for that. It's like,
was beautiful to see. I mean, obviously
beautiful, man.
Tragic, but like a beautiful thing to see.
I mean, like literally, I'm hoping for nothing but the best, and literally, I can't put enough fucking. I mean, who knows, but like thoughts and prayers and everything. I can fucking good energy. It's like. But it was, I want nothing but, it
was inspiring as hell to see that, because I saw that, like, by the time I saw that GoFundMe, it was like through the roof. I was like, holy shit,
it was
this
like
is incredible.
Halfway in like a couple hours.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah.
And Silent Planet with their Crash and anything like the when you need to, that's the other cool thing is most people won't rely on it, and if you rely on it and you're not giving anything back, everyone will see through that,
right?
But if you're just a hardworking fucking true motherfucker that gives back to the community and is just here for the right reasons, and when you need help and you need to ask for it, people will give you that help. And I think that that's so special, and you don't get that in every scene, but it's so cool being a member of this alternative, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's hard to quantify it, right? But yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, but being a part of this amazing community that is a fan of alternative and heavy adjacent music, it's really, really incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, like, again, it's just a good thing to, and it's something, again, not to beat a dead horse with this, but something your band really reminds me of when I see it both online with like kind of the presence of the fan base, and also just the music you guys put out, and the shows I've seen. Like, what got me like really into your band with the Cult Mentality album, was when I saw, you know, we've referenced Silent Planet a few times. I saw one of their members share, like, you know, Avoid is the best like live band you can see or whatever, like 3 different dates or whatever online. And then I checked it out and I watched some videos and I was like, yeah, I think they might be right. This band's fucking sick, you know? And like, that's just the kind of shit you want to see from bands and from people, you know? Like, it's just such a positive thing.
Dude, Silent Planet are our fucking boys. We love those guys so much. But honestly, like, to even go back on a point you were making earlier about like we all love the seriousness of metalcore, and a band that is as serious as Silent Planet. But I think, honestly, I would not even just to toot our own horn, but I'd say us and Silent Planet's fucking bromance is a testament to that. It doesn't matter. Just do what's true to you,
right, and
be really good at it and have fun,
just
and be a real ass person.
Yeah, just be authentic.
I mean? Like Silent Planet and us are about as polar opposite as you can be while being under the same umbrella of heavy music. Right. It's like we are doing 2 very different things, but we're also not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it totally makes sense for you to be on a tour, jam out together, have a good time, and it'd be a great tour.
A little bit of heaven, a little bit of hell. You know what I mean?
I love it. I absolutely love it, man.
It's controlled chaos, but no, it's like I think that's what's so cool about this scene, and what's made us like also have a lot of confidence to just lean into what we're doing too. Is like as we grow and as we make friends with bands like Planet and all these other people in the scene, it's like being accepted for who we are and realizing that the scene politics really do. I mean, there's another set of industry scene politics that's a story for a different day.
Right.
But the fan scene politics of it's not cool to do this and you can't wear the shirt of the band you're seeing to go see the show and all those stupid unwritten rules they have, they definitely do not exist behind the scenes and between bands.
No, and that's just online bullshit. Yeah,
it is, man. And that's what's been so cool to us, because obviously, I mean, we're still young and dumb and don't know, and we didn't know how we would be accepted by some of these bands before we met them, being is we're fucking a random ass party band and we curse all the time and we do this and we do that. And there's some bands that we've made friends with that are a little bit more straight and narrow with their branding. And those are our best friends. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, and there's nothing but respect to either party, because like I'm a fan of good, as we were talking about earlier. I just like shit to be good. If you're good at your shit, I like you. And if you're real about your shit, I like, even if it, and like, that's even to go as far, and thankfully I do love Silent Planet, but there's bands that I'm not necessarily a fan of them musically, that I will never, ever, ever say a bad word about a day in my life, because they are like, if you work hard and you're good at what you do and you have a big fan base, clearly you're doing something right. And that's why I don't like I mean, I love being a hater. I love being a hater.
It's okay to be at certain times too.
Being a hater is fucking great. But at the end of the day, in your true like ideology, hater mentality, especially to like a music scene or to anything creative, is pretty stupid. And
absolutely.
And as someone that can be a hater myself, like I said, like you have to be able to recognize, even if it's not your cup of tea, you have to be able to recognize why something is successful or why another person likes something, even if you want to have the best understanding as a musician and as a person in the industry, it's like, or if you want to be a good critic about something, because I also like critiquing music and I never want to be a dick about it. But again, I like really good shit. And if anyone comes to me for advice and I can help critique or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to have that discussion.
Well, and it's a big difference to be a critique of something. Like, you could say X thing about X music or whatever and say what you like about it, what you don't like about it. But when people kind of just want to, what am I looking for? Like kind of just like be, I hate using this word, but it is what it is. Like, be trolls on shit and just make people feel bad about something, or just like, you know, or say like, you know, we refer like maybe a band, you know, I've referenced a couple different bands that have like very socially charged lyrics, right? Like, maybe you don't like the lyrical content, but can you respect that the music fucking rips? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever else.
Here's what I'll say. Wow. Good and being a fan is subjective.
Yes.
There is good and there is bad.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what and there is. And perfect example, I Set My Friends on Fire. That band fucking sucks. And they will be the first to tell you that. That's their whole thing.
That was their whole thing. Their whole
thing is sucking.
Yep.
And for that, I love them, and I think they're amazing, and they're actually are really cool. And if you look at like them inspiring like 100 Gex and stuff like that, it's like there is like the actual valid argument of like they are really good, but that band sucks. I mean, like, objectively, if you were like a music theorist, like they are horrible.
You'd be like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. If
you know what I mean?
The realm of when that music came out and the MySpace era and all that, and you were like going to school at Juilliard or some shit, and you heard that, you'd be like, what the hell are people listening to? Yeah.
Broken Side, Blood on the Dance Floor. Bad. It's bad. You can't convince me otherwise.
You can quote both of us on that in the future. It's bad.
It's horrible. It's funny. I get why you could be a fan of it. I get, like, I'm not saying I don't get it. I'm not saying there isn't value to it. I'm not saying there isn't an appeal to it. It's bad.
It's bad. Yeah.
It's bad. And, you know, but then, like, pop country, and a lot of like diehard country fans hate pop country.
Arena country stuff is by and large terrible.
Like Luke Bryan type fucking
people writing songs. Did you ever listen to what's his name? The comedian. He's like a younger comedian. I forget what his name, or he's not younger anymore. I think he's a few years younger than me. But he did this set. What the fuck was his name? Bo Burnham. Was doing a live set, and he would do. He does like a lot of music and stuff, and he did this song called Pandering, where he played like country pop, and he was talking about wearing like $300 designer jeans on stage, but talking about his mud truck or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that shit sucks. Like, that's not good. Like, that's not hating on country. That's hating on bad music. Like, but it is good because it's literally, and I'm not saying I'm a fan of every, but like from the, and this is like yes, it sucks, but like from the objective, but taking back, like it's literally scientifically formatically created to be good. There's a reason 100,000 people go to see it at every show.
It's objectively good. And that's what I'm saying is that it's like you can learn from that while even not being a fan of it. It's like there's an objective good and there's an objective bad.
Right. Absolutely. And that's at the end of the day where it's just good to take your music seriously, write good songs, take your live shows seriously.
And that's where everything, music, writing, all subjective.
Yeah, all subjective.
That's where like the good and bad is here. All of this is subjective. Like there's stuff that is like, then there's the argument stuff, right? Yeah. And where it's like, and that isn't it, but it's like, but again, then that's where I say you take back the hater mentality. You can peel that back to, even if you don't like it, figure out why it's good. But then there's some things that are actually that bad. And then there's some things that are really, really good that you don't like.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that's a good point. And that's again where I even almost got just stuck into it. We're having a conversation 10 seconds ago, but that's where it's good to just like enjoy what you enjoy. Let other people enjoy what they enjoy. It's not a fucking contest with
it's
art.
Not. It doesn't
it's just
matter.
To enjoy what you enjoy. And you know what? I was just shitting on pop country. I would never shit on somebody going to one of those fucking concerts. Enjoy yourself. Have beers. Talk about whatever those songs are about. I don't know. But you know what
talk
I mean?
About your truck.
Yeah, talk about your truck.
Talk about going mudding.
That's right. All from a guy that's probably living in like a high rise or something, right? But like,
that's the funniest thing about pop country. It's these people talking about like blue collar shit, and they're the most bougie ass motherfuckers.
Bougiest people probably got like a skybox of the Dallas Cowboys or whatever.
Skybox, right? They're going around in a private limo and private cars flying private. Like they're calling a contractor to do any fucking work on their house.
They're hiring people to tell them what blue collar people do.
No, see, that's 100% true, but it's literally scientifically formattically created to be good, and that's what's like insane, right?
Yeah, it took me a long time to respect that about general pop music, where like I was one of those kids in high school that like I would shit on every pop star. Didn't matter who they were, didn't matter if they wrote their own songs or a bunch of ghostwriters wrote their songs or whatever else. I would be like, that's not good, that's pop music, whatever. I want to listen to double kick and guitar and people yelling or whatever. Like, and then it's like it took me years later to be like, some of those pop stars are fucking talented as shit. Like they're so good. Dude, you know what I mean? And it might not be my thing all the time, but there might be a song or two that I'm like, that's like I'm a teacher for my day job, and so a lot of my students love pop music, and I'm like I hate to say it for my own self because I feel like there's a little bit of like my elitist middle school self inside me that like I'll sit there and I'll start bobbing my head to some of the songs, and I'm like they like this song because it's catchy, and it's like, God damn it, I was totally wrong. I was just an elitist prick. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what's funny about that? And so because I had this, so I was like in two different things, right? So also in the area of Seattle that I grew up in, the subcultures wasn't like cool at my high school. And like, a lot of the time it's like if you were in a band in high school, even if it's like a fucking metalcore band, like that's sick. That wasn't the case at my high school. Like it wasn't like the teachers thought it was more cool than the students. Like no one fucking gave a shit about the fact that I was in a band, and we were even like we started doing a little bit of shit. Like I toured before my senior year of high school.
That's cool.
Like we were doing shit.
Yeah.
And no one gave a fuck. It did not make me popular. It did not make me sick. And so so with my mentality at a formative age, I was like torn between two things because I wanted to like fit in with like the kids that were cool at school. So I liked pop, and I did. Like, deep down, I always liked it, and I knew, and I'd always like listen to pop and know it was cool. So I had, if I wanted to talk about music with like people at school, I knew it was up. And then I'd go to like metalcore shows at the scene. No, I don't fuck with pop. That shit sucks. And I mean, like, I got over that very quickly, right. But because deep down I always loved it. But like that's like so it's almost even worse. Like I was a poser hater to pop to the scene to try and fit in while secretly loving it the whole time.
What were can you tell me what were in high school, if you can remember, what were some of those pop artists that you really jammed to?
Oh, dude, I loved everything. So because we have like our main pop station in Seattle is like 106.1. And so it just had every Lady Gaga. I mean, like the shit that was like super popular when I was in high school, like middle school to high school. Like when I think about like those pop songs, I mean, I love like I-As Replay, all that Taya Cruz shit when it was popping.
That brings me back,
like, you know what I mean? Like that first Bruno Mars record when it was popping off, Lady Gaga, fucking that Beyonce like 2012, right? Like Single Ladies and stuff like that when that was popping off. Anything T-Pain touched, I absolutely loved.
It rips, like, man. Yeah.
Dude, all of it, like anything that was commercial pop radio, I fucking loved. And like even to this day, there's not all of it is my cup of tea, but I'd honestly say like more than 75% of it, like I at least like or would not turn off.
Even if people don't objectively like that music, which I can get, maybe you're like really into like heavy guitars or you're like a drummer and you really want something complex or whatever, like the melodies of that stuff, like I'm sorry, that is like, there's a lot, if you're writing music for what you guys, like you guys have anthemic choruses and you guys have like verses that like listen to that kind of music
to any elitist that might be a fan of our band. Sorry to tell you, any catchy elements you like of our band, I'm stealing that shit from pop, baby.
Yeah, seriously, because and every band does, like you even
any heavy band that's had like commercial success with like catchy stuff and going to like Bad Omens and shit. I mean, they haven't told me explicitly, but I guarantee you they're inspired by pop, and like all like anything that has heavy melody driven, I will guarantee you is inspired by pop.
And it goes back to, and again, like anyone that's listened to a couple episodes of this, I feel like I'm a broken record sometimes, but just because it's true, like if you only listen to the kind of music that you make, like say you guys, if you only listen to metalcore adjacent, like post-hardcore, whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? If you only ever listen to that and you didn't listen to other music, you're just going to end up making worse versions of yourself over and over and over again. Whereas if you broaden your horizons, you pull something from fucking Justin Timberlake and you throw it over some drop A breakdown, that's just gonna rip. Like it's gonna be great. You know what I mean?
I promise you, even if you have a hard time where it's like not your thing and you don't know what things to like take and appreciate out of it for your thing, you know who does? A good producer.
Yep.
And that's not, and obviously everyone has to start somewhere. Like you should absolutely make a friend with your shitty friend that's a horrible bedroom producer that sounds like shit and like cut your teeth. Like that's a formative part of anyone's music career, and you got to do it. But any producer that's like actually worth it, that has any sort of credentials, whether they're in any sort of genre, I promise you, they're a fan of metal. Even like the biggest pop producers and stuff like that in the world, they love metal.
Yep.
And if they were to ever like help out, I mean, even like Amity Affliction and stuff like that, like that Soak Me and Bleach song, like that was produced by Ariana Grande's producer, if I'm not mistaken.
Shit. I bet. I mean, I'll real quick look this up. Look up the producer. So it was Soak Me.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's a fact. And so it's like takes that. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like any producer worth their shit is inspired by pop and can help you bring those elements into your band.
Scott, yeah, you're right. Scott, I think he did. I think you're right. I'm gonna look this up. Yeah, he has made a lot of shit. Holy cow.
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
so that's what I'm saying. It's like, right. Even bands that are successful within our scene are literally outsourcing to pop producers so that you can bring that element into our scene and be more successful. There's nothing wrong with it.
It goes back to that, like you said earlier, a good song is a good song.
Good song is a good song. And honestly, no disrespect to Amity Affliction. No. I like a lot of their songs. I'm not even a fan of that Soak Me in Bleach song.
Yeah, I don't really.
It's objectively good, but like, I'm not even the biggest fan of it. But like, I can appreciate and respect absolutely going to that and getting that sort of mainstream ears on a song. Like, it's huge for the scene. It's huge for, like, I don't know, man. I think there's always a good or something to learn from quite literally anything, even if you're not a number one fan of it.
Oh man, absolutely. Like, and it's refreshing to hear that from somebody like yourself. That's like, you know, you guys are a band that's getting a lot of steam. You've done things like, you know, we won't have to talk about the whole story, but you did like the whole NASCAR deal where you both had songs on the game. You got to do that national anthem thing that went viral. You get all that momentum, and like, it's very easy to be in the scene of this kind of music and kind of be an edgelord a little bit, you know, like, I don't think,
absolutely.
And I think a lot of bands have kind of shied away from that. I don't know if the online fans on Twitter have necessarily caught up, but like,
Twitter's a horrible gauge for your music. And so is Reddit, but Reddit used to hate our band and now Reddit likes our band. So I guess I like Reddit now, but again, it's more for my serotonin to get a good comment. It's a horrible, like, actual way. I mean, but back and forth, like, if you're just getting like, because you also, I think, you know, when you're getting like relentlessly shit on or trolled to a degree, like I also completely understand not reading comments, but being aware of what a fan base wants or enjoys about you is important, or it doesn't like about you is important. And then if obviously if you're a true artist and maybe that thing that they don't like about you is your fucking thing, you don't have to change that. But you have to be aware of what your weaknesses to the outside eye are, even if you think it's one of your strong suits. If you think that something's super sick, and there's a lot of comments that are, like I said, you know when you're getting trolled. But if there's just like, hey man, like, they did this thing cool, but this part of it isn't for me. It's like, again, you don't have to change that, but I think it's important to recognize how other people view that, because it's a good tool to grow. Yeah,
there's always a middle ground, right? And like, that's where, you know, you say, I mean, I always make the joke. I'm also invested in like political culture and stuff like that. And Twitter's a hellscape there, big time.
Oh God, horrible.
And but like, there is a big middle ground between like never reading, you know, criticism from fans that could be constructive, and like, just like, you know, reading all the troll bullshit, right? Like, there's a big medium to where, like, it is good to see what people have to say that isn't always like you said. It's good to hear from critics or like people that are critiquing things, as long as like it feels genuine. If people are just shit talking or gatekeeping or whatever, it's like, fuck them. You know what I mean? But
and
like,
especially if it's like an internet comment, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Yes. But like I said, like if you read all of them or even just a handful of them, and there's one thing that like sticks out that like doesn't seem like it's like being made fun of, but it's like, okay, that isn't resonating with people. Like, there's nothing wrong with learning or evolve, or if you're convinced that it's an element that's really sick, how can you evolve it to convince other people of that? Right. Because clearly they're not convinced yet.
Right. Maybe there's an idea there that you need to, that could be great, that you further like hash out and polish or whatever else. Right. And that's where it's good to just like look at the constructive stuff, then also realize when someone's just being a fucking asshole. Right. Like,
well, and honestly, like, and I forget, I think I saw this on TikTok, but there was like there's a thing that was going around recently, and it's also not the first time. It's an argument or a debate that I've heard for a long time. And it's a like if you're a band and you've put out 3 records that don't sound drastically different from each other and it hasn't gone anywhere, that's your sign to like hang it up or do something new and
let's put a bunch of like critiquing barriers on art.
Yeah,
that's a good idea, right?
Like I don't like putting a timeline to it. No. You know what I mean? And I think there's certain elements where maybe a rebrand or saying goodbye to one project and starting a new one. I mean, even looking at, like, for just a quick example in the music industry, I Wrestled a Bear once got pretty big and had a great underground scene. By the end of it, their singer and guitar player, who happened to be married, started Spirit Box, exponentially bigger. And I don't think I Wrestled a Bear once could have gotten there.
No, absolutely not. You referenced that band, and I was going to reference one of the other bands people talk about right now that, like, people act like fakely blew up or something, which is Sleep Token, and people would be like where did that come from or whatever.
Dude,
else. It's like
Sleep Token's also
out for forever, like since like 26 forever, like for 5-6 years. You know what I mean? Like
they've been around for a minute, and obviously their identities are hidden. But if you do look into that band, you'll see that the producers that they're working with and the people, they're very clearly in the industry.
Yes,
they're very, very, very clearly in the industry.
They also like know what they're doing. They've like and just finally something clicked with a bigger audience, right? Like I've been a fan of them for a couple of records, and like I saw them getting big. Same. And I was like sick.
I want to say I found out about that band in 2018.
Yeah. Like my former bass player in the band that I played with my wife, he was like, you should check this band out, Sleep Token. I was like, I looked at it and I was like, they wear masks. Like, what are they trying to be, Slipknot or something? And then I looked it up and I was like, nope, they are very much their own thing. And this is sick.
I was on fucking mushrooms when I found out about Sleep Token first time.
That is the right way to find out about Sleep Token, I guess. Yeah.
It was fucking, dude. So we were out hanging out with our buddies, and we were just like tripping nuts. And we always like start going down the music rabbit hole when we're on there. Mm-hmm. And then our buddy Dylan was like, dude, have you heard of this band Sleep Token? We're like, no, what are you talking about? And dude, it blew my mind. We started listening to like the songs, and then we started watching live videos, and I'm like convinced because of like how weird Vessel moves and all the other guys like have those like very abrupt movements. And I was like, dude, these are robots. Like their identities are hidden because they're robots. And I like started going to this, and I like, it was so funny and obvious, but like, like that's the thing is, like, I mean, Iceland Kills has been a band since 2002.
Roses vs. White has been a band, right? Like yeah. Just crazy.
Roses vs. White has been a band since 2006 or 2008. Like Dayseeker has been a band. I don't forget when they started, but fuck, dude, I've seen Dayseeker.
I can think of was like 2015, 2014. Like they've been around for a long time.
I've seen Dayseeker. I've known about Dayseeker since at least 2013, 2014.
Yeah,
I've watched that band play to no people a few times, and now look at them.
Right.
So you know, and that's a band that I do think has all of the potential in the world. They don't need to rebrand.
No.
Them being that band. So that's like, I don't think that a statement like, again, it's not about time. It's about being able to evolve and know. And again, so like there's the examples of you got to a certain place with one band, and then you take what you learned from that band and start a new project and elevate. Mm-hmm. But there's also the element of like you start your project and you evolve, and then you find something that hits. Mm-hmm. And it's different for everyone.
Right.
But you can't listen to the internet or what anyone. You can find good people to give you advice of like a trusted peer or someone that has experience and get their opinion on it. But you can't just take blanket statements like that. I don't think it works.
I heard a great thing from, of all people, Sam Carter from Architects, who I think is a good person to listen to when it comes to mentality about music, because one band that just continues to get bigger and bigger, and they also have a very divisive fan base in some regards that they have to hear from all the time. And he was like, if I wouldn't take advice from you, should I take criticism from you? And I was like, and you know, like, not to say you shouldn't take some comments to heart from the internet or something like that. But when I heard that, I was like, that is such a good thing that bands, when they're there, really, really should embody that, like, to kind of get some skin when people start talking shit when you make a change, you know?
That's the exact balance, right? And that's how you evolve. It's like you have to be aware of the elements that people like about your band and don't like about your band and stuff like that. And then you also have to be aware that when you make a big change, especially like a band like Architects, or a band that has, like, Architects has a very staple metalcore fan base. And thankfully they've gotten bigger. So I think they also have a lot more newer, open-minded people, especially with the last couple of records. Like I've been a fan of Architects since day one.
Same.
Fucking dude, Architects was like my band for a minute. Like, dude, I like the record that they hate, dude. Like day in, day out, that song is
great. I don't think they have a bad one, to be honest. I don't think they have a bad one.
But like understanding that not only were they around for that long, but they were one of those bands that did have that like niche. If you liked Architects, if you were into heavy and metalcore and not the main, like you kind of got into them to get away from bands like Pierce the Veil at that time when they were, and then to see them make a kind of mainstream. Again, it's hard to put words into other. I don't know those guys, but whatever they did make us. They took a chance. And obviously, probably the goal was to get more successful. And it worked, whether or not it pissed people off or not. Because again, there's that objective good.
Right.
They did what they did, and they did it well, and they did it well executed. So even if it pissed off a couple of those old heads, they had a surefire thing that was going to get more new fans than get rid of old fans, you know?
Right. And like, you know, for all the shit you can see from like a divisive online fan base from a band like that, you go see them, you know, you see any videos of them live, they'll be playing a new song from the newest record and people are going ballistic for it. You know what I mean? So it's like, what matters? Some dude being a piece of shit on Twitter, or like the thousands of fans you're seeing every night that love the new shit? You know what I mean? Like,
dude,
you know,
you want to know who I recently even had that realization again within the last year when we toured with Fit for a King.
Right.
And I love Fit for a King. I especially love older Fit. I was into Fit for a King when I was in high school, and I've obviously like been aware of what they do, and I like songs here and there. It wasn't always my like number one cup of tea for all their songs. I really like them now, especially after touring with them. It's like I appreciate that band so much that I can jam any Fit for a King record now and just
hell yeah.
But so the last two records before, well, I guess the two records before this most recent one they put out. That had very mixed reviews from especially like the scene. And when we were going to do that tour with them, I found out they were only playing new songs on it. And this is not even a criticism on them, because that band should be giving me criticism, not the other way around. Right. But I was curious to see what the reaction of the fan base was, or if that would, because they released their set list before the tour and they weren't playing any old hit. It was all songs off of those two records. And I was like, is the scene going to fuck with this? And they did. They did. And every single night they were playing songs that not all those songs had like the biggest streams or in their top even 10 on Spotify. The entire crowd singing every single word loud. Man, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's where, like, you know, we all get, and I do, like, I've talked about it on the show before. I've like talked to people about their monthly listeners and their like followers on Spotify and all that kind of stuff. And that, not to say that stuff doesn't matter, but like what does matter is when you go out on tour and you get the reaction, because what matters is what your fans that want to see you, that take the time out of their day, pay the money out of their pocket, whatever else, like might have to get up the next day to go work some job, like that they go out there and they love it. And like you just said, Fit for a King, perfect example. Like I've heard the same thing. Like I always like their newest stuff. Like again, same thing. Like I probably listen to a handful of songs from each record or whatever, but like to hear that like people are going balls to the wall over the last like several records.
Balls to the wall. And like, all they were playing were songs.
That's so good. Fuck like the hate shit. Just like
fuck any Twitter.
Do authentic, make, like you said, good songs, and the rest is there. Like work hard and the rest is, you know.
Dude, exactly. Like it's so cool to see it in bands like that. And I think that like it's a good thing to remember that, like, again, it's success is subjective, and the scene and looking at all of these blanket statements can get you a kind of a jaded perspective or a jaded mentality on even if it's not, even if you don't realize it's jaded, not just being a hater, but thinking that you need to be a certain way to be accepted by the scene or to be successful in the scene. All you need to do is figure out what works for you.
Getting wrapped up in like the numbers and everything else, and like to a degree, you do need to look at those things. You don't want to just say like nothing to all of it.
Well, but like, here's what I'll say. Yeah. Well, here's what I'll say about the thing you said about like even like the Spotify listeners and followers and stuff like that. And people love to be on Twitter about that and fucking say some shit. And like, here's the thing. You can only cheat the system for so long.
So
I don't even think it needs to be a fucking debate for Twitter warriors, because a band that either bought to be on a playlist or fucking bump their listeners up like that, two things are going to happen. One, the second they're not on those playlists anymore, because you don't stay on those playlists forever.
Nope.
The second you're off those playlists, your monthly listeners will go down exponentially if it didn't turn over to any fans. And you see it happen. It's a really easy metric to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Two, Twitter warrior, any band that's going through that and that is getting success in the industry, guess what they're doing? Having phone calls with label people and managers and agents who are vetting them and looking at that stuff already.
Yep.
You're not a fucking genius because you figured out that a monthly listener and follower count doesn't, like, and again, it's an important metric and we should follow it, but I don't know. I think that
it needs an asterisk, right? It needs an
asterisk. Yeah, those bands are going to get run out of the scene. Mm-hmm. No matter what. Well, and maybe you can, and like I said, it wears out. Maybe you can game it for a year. Maybe you can game it for 5 years. Like I'm not saying you can't get success that way, and whether that's good or bad or whatever is, again, that's a subjective subject. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to be the next Led Zeppelin. They're not going to fucking change music. So why does it matter?
Just do what you love, and the rest falls into place, right? Like,
focus on yourself. Focus on your shit.
Yeah,
like it doesn't like, affect you that they're doing that.
And like
I said, and if it blows up and then they get a huge couple tours and they've never toured before and suddenly they're on an arena tour, guess what's going to happen? They're going to act like fucking green ass idiots on the arena tour, and the big band and all their crew is going to hate them, and they're probably not going to get invited back to another tour. Like, it's like, right. I guess, like, it will, like, you can only game it for so long, but this shit will spit you out if you're not fit for it.
I want, we're on the side, and again, I won't keep you too long. Thanks for doing this.
You're good, bro.
Me.
You're good.
But
dude, I'm happy. Like, I have nothing to do tonight, man. You're fine.
I love this. Has been a great conversation, man. I really appreciate it. But like, you bring up like that kind of online presence, virality. You can talk about TikTok, whatever else. Like it's so hard, I think, for some bands to kind of realize where draw comes from anymore, especially like even bands that are more trying to cut their teeth even than you guys, maybe some up and coming local bands trying to like do the next step up or whatever. I know you guys kind of went viral to a degree with your, like, and again, I'm not going to make you tell the whole story for the millionth time, but like anyone that doesn't know, you can just look up other interviews. You can look up the NASCAR thing that happened the
national anthem.
What happened with the national anthem with Benny and all that. And it seems like it was a cool story for you and it worked out and all that. But did you guys like have staying power from that virality? Did it feel like that actually grew for you for your shows
Huge.
And all that kind of stuff? So again, like there is the duality of both, like, is this
our followers on all platforms went up, I forget, it was somewhere between 10 and 20% on everything in a week.
That's a huge number.
And especially when you're already in, like, have a couple thousand followers, to increase that by 10% in a very short amount of time is an amazing metric.
Right.
And so,
go ahead.
We were able to catch the fire with it. The full story is on the internet, but to get into it, the national anthem thing went viral and people didn't like it, and we were getting ripped apart on national sports radio and like NASCAR and sports Twitter. And the thing that was so great about it, though, is because there is still a disconnection between the scene that we're in and the mainstream sports world. So it got viral in the Jim Rome show. If you don't know who Jim Rome is, just look it up. He's the #1 paid sports radio broadcaster in the world. He's been huge for years. Show Rome is Burning on ESPN. Massive. He does know what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. He's a massive sports media talent. Mm-hmm. And he really took the national anthem thing and fucking ran with it and was fucking ripping me apart. And honestly, it was fucking funny. Jim Rome is hilarious. Jim Rome is so good at roasting. It's why he's, again, been taking my hater mentality back, even about me. That's why he's successful. It's literally his brand. He's so good at hating and going on those stupid ass rants. It works. But in that rant, luckily for him not being in touch with the scene and stuff like that, in his rant, he's like, there was a section of it where he's just like ripping on like emo. He's like, did some emo kid start working for NASCAR and book the national anthem? Benny Scholl or Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance? Benny Scholl or Adam Lazzara from Take? He just basically started comparing me to all these like legends of the scene.
What a compliment.
Thinking he's making fun of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like, and so that was what I took that clip and posted it on Twitter because I knew the scene when they heard that would kind of take it and run with it too. And they did. And then I was just like, yo, Jim Rome, I just want to talk, man. Like, what the fuck? And so we were able to just super lean into it. And then as we started leaning into it, because it's like there is two things you can do. And most people would just fire back and be just a, fuck you, Jim Rome, you piece of fucking shit. You don't fucking know what you're talking about. And I could have done that. But we went for the funny approach, and we just kind of goofed with it, and because there was a serious element of what he was saying. He did mean what he was saying for that first week, and so I knew if we could out troll him, because I didn't give a fuck at that point. It did really fuck me up mentally. I probably am still getting over it in certain ways, and there was a lot of stuff that I recently got over, but I didn't. At this point, I'm already the victim, but I'm already the one being made fun of. I don't have anything to lose at this point,
right?
And so we just started going funny with it. I'm gonna look more of a bitch if I like, Jim Rome, you hurt my feelings. Why are you saying that about me? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna look way worse there rather than if I just like fucking goof on it. And so I just tried to out troll him. And it worked, and it got his attention, and it turned into like a back and forth thing. And there's even, I can't, it used to be on YouTube. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but there's like a really long like radio broadcast the day before I went on his show where you hear him like because I'm like at this point we're just really going back and forth, and I'm just really trying to out troll, and I'm honestly kind of starting to piss him off because it's working. And he listens to the band, like he listens to one of our songs on air, and you literally hear him switch. He's like, whoa, what the fuck? This is good.
That's awesome.
You literally hear his opinion, like, and then he's still like, because he's doing his thing, he was still razzing on it, but like, you can, there's those moments that you can tell are genuine. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it was really good, and that's when we started getting a lot of followers from his fans. And then the next day, it was still going on because that thing yesterday, and we were just going back and forth hard. And Twitter kept telling me like, you should call in. And I was like, fuck it, man, I'm gonna do it. And I called in.
Amazing.
And they honestly thought I was trolling. They were like, you're not Benny. And I had to kind of like prove to myself that I was them, and also that I wasn't going to like get on air and just be like, fuck you, Jim Rome, you piece of shit. Like they had to like actually make sure I was chill. And I was, especially at that point. And so they actually they sped me through, and they didn't treat me as a caller. And Jim actually brought me on for an interview on the show. And he gave me a good 15 minutes and let me tell my part of the story, let me plug the band, let me explain everything that happened in perfect detail. And he was so cool. Like, and it really did change everything. And so I guess that's the thing. The biggest thing I learned from that is you never know what's going to help you. And don't make that first shirt. Because I wanted to be like, fuck you, Jim Rome, you piece. I wanted to fire back really hard. Mm. So I took a minute to think about it. And I think the fact that I took a minute to think about it and steer into it and make it a funny thing actually ended up being one of the biggest things that could have ever happened to the band.
Absolutely, man. Like that's a huge thing. And I think that, again, like that works with the overall message, you know, not to say there's a message, but the overall like feel of your guys' band, that like you just like you gotta have fun in life. You know what I mean? Like you gotta have fun.
You want to know the message? Mm-hmm. Life is fucking short. Do whatever the fuck you want to do and have fun. And
nothing more punk rock than that, you know.
That's the message. And again, like we are here for you, and we do. I mean, we have we deal with our mental stuff and write about that. I mean, that's where the inspiration comes from. Like I said, it's like that's there, and it is what we stand for. And I want to, like I said, I want to be there for you in whatever you're going through, good, bad, or in between. Mm-hmm. We're here for you, and we love you, and you have a space in a Void's camp. But I'll tell you right now, the message is life is short. Enjoy it. And enjoy it. If you want to enjoy it with us, that's great. We want to enjoy it with you. But life is short, and fucking do the things you love to do.
Yeah.
Because you never know when the last thing is going to be. And that's what we think about every time we get on stage.
Yeah.
You never know when the last time you're going to be on stage is for any handful of reasons. So treat it like it's the last. And remember that. You know what I mean? That's what we're about. That's what we're about. At the end of the day, that's what we're about.
Absolutely. It's one of those, like, I just think of this because, like, somebody was asking for inspirational quotes for somebody in a group I was in today, and it fits with this perfectly, where it was from a movie I really love called, it's a very dark movie, actually, called American History X. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. But
I haven't, but yeah.
But one of the quotes is just like, life is too short to be pissed off all the time, you know, like it's not worth it, you know, and you just gotta kind of sit back and smell the roses sometimes, right? And just kind of roll with the punches. So, like, it's a beautiful thing, man.
And thankfully, I mean, and I feel like you probably have, like, we can always talk about the Twitter assholes and the couple anomalies. The biggest, and why I'm still here, the biggest thing I've learned about the metal, alternative, punk, whatever scene you want to call it, is that everyone is overwhelmingly nice. And like we were talking about earlier, the community comes together. And I think most people, and obviously there's the few really bad people out there and stuff like that, but it's like, obviously we have those feelings of bad and stress and thing, and you do need to get them out, hopefully in constructive ways. And if going to a metal show and listening to me be pissed off and write about shit that I'm pissed off about and yell my head off, and then you can yell those words back at me, if that makes you feel better, or not me, at any other band, that, and I think that's what makes our scene so overwhelmingly positive, even maybe other than other scenes, is because the negative is there. It's literally what fuels the music, but it's not a negative thing.
Right.
It's getting the negative out positively.
It's a cathartic thing. You know, it's
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's people that write a lot deeper lyrics than even I do. And I think it's beautiful. And I think it's amazing that like, that's there for people to, because again, it's not, there's stuff that isn't there for everyone, but like, some people need that incredibly literal, like, put you in a different world type lyricism. And it's amazing that it's out there in this scene. Some people don't need that, and they need a more lighthearted approach to it. And hopefully, and that's what we're here to be for you. But we're here for that reason. And again, if we can get you into the scene and then you decide that you need that, then that's where the pipeline is. You go to Silent Planet, or vice versa, because they're obviously a way bigger band than us. You love Silent Planet and love that serious side, but you need a little bit of fun, then you can find us. And that's why it's so cool, is we're all friends and we're all doing different shit, but we're here for the same reason. It's for you guys. And it's for us, but it's for you guys.
Right. Absolutely. Like, it's just a great community that, as long as people keep it positive, keep it constructive, and keep the love like they do in the real world, even if it's not that way all the time in the online world, it's a great thing. And I think it bands like yours that are, you know, up and coming and blowing up, it feels like every single time I look at your, again, not that numbers are everything, but like every single time I see your guys' numbers are going up and up and up, and it feels like that's just because, like, it's good music, it's fun, and people connect with it live, and that's all you need, right?
Thank you, man. And I mean, it is cool to see. I mean, again, it's not everything, but it is amazing to see your numbers go up. And it obviously doesn't mean nothing either, because we aren't out here buying likes and follows and stuff like that. And so it is, at least, I mean, we do get on playlists and stuff like that, but I'd say that our growth is relatively organic, because it's growing fast, but it's also not as fast paced as other bands and other things. And so it's like, I do think that you can kind of scale it back to see that most of our growth is pretty literal, and it's a good steady pace, and we could go faster. Hopefully we don't go slower, but you know, I'm so grateful for it, because I know that the people that are coming in and staying are about it. And that's, like, again, what more can you ask for? That's, if you give a fuck and like actually want to be here and want to be at the shows or want to put on the record, fucking thank you. That's so cool. That's literally why I get to do what I do. Like, that's what it's about.
Absolutely, man. It's a beautiful thing. And I love hearing all the positivity from this. And like, with everything with your guys' band, it seems like things are just like on the up and up, and you clearly have the best attitude in the world on this shit, man. Like, it's just, I'm in a better mood just talking to you today. So it's a great thing. Yeah.
I love to hear that. And I mean, PMA is important. And also being in touch with your emotions is important. Don't be toxically positive. Like, you got to address that shit.
Yeah.
But you got to also not live in it. And being able to find the good in even the worst of situations is important. And we want to help you do that because you all deserve to be here and we don't want to see it. We don't want to see none of y'all go away now. So, we're here for you.
Absolutely, man. Well, again, Benny, thanks so much for talking with me today. I really, really appreciate it. This has been absolutely awesome.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. I had a fucking blast.
Yeah, before we go, I've been trying this new thing because better podcasts than mine have been doing little gimmicks at the end, and I thought it'd be a good thing to try. Got two things I'm going to ask you. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Let's do it.
They're hypotheticals. So the first thing would be, and I think you'll be a good person for this. The first one I'm going to ask you is, say, hypothetically, different universe. You're not in a void. You're the vocalist that you are. You're into the kind of music you're into. Everything else. Any people you could have in your band, like any, you could make a 5-person band or a 4-person band, 3-person band, whatever else. Who would you put into a band with you if you could have the dream lineup? It could be dead, could be alive.
Damn.
Who would you put in with you?
Fuck. I mean, I feel like the easy answer is obviously if I could go back and be Billy Joe Armstrong and fucking put myself in his shoes and be kid that grew up with Mike Dirt.
You had him as the guitarist, and you and him do back and forth vocals like a Taking Back Sunday thing, man. That's what you got to go for. You got to think outside the box on this, right?
Dang, that's not bad. But I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I think it would be really cool to be a part of. I guess it's somewhat of a cop-out answer because it's kind of open-ended. But it would be really cool to have gotten to be the singer of one of those bands like Linkin Park or Limp Bizkit, or you know what I mean? And that got like the overnight success at a very, very, very different time than it is now to like have your and obviously they were in a band before and they cut their teeth, and anyone that thinks that Linkin Park just did that is ridiculous. They absolutely cut their teeth as much as any other band. But again, you don't see overnight success like that, or like even like Nirvana. So but I like that and hopefully, I mean, maybe we'll get our moment still someday, but you know what I mean? It's like just being realistic. It's like there's only a few times in life.
Yeah,
there's only a few times in life that a band actually like legitimately changes the course of pop culture and music. So I mean, in an alternative world, it would be really cool to like have had that be my high school band, like be in a Nirvana or in a Foo Fighters or in a Green Day, or like it would be cool to like do that at a different time. I honestly, I think it's more than that. Like, even if it's my own band, like, because I also think if Avoid was fucking 10 years older and we came out in like even 15 years older, if Avoid came out in 2004, I think we'd be the biggest band in the fucking world.
Yeah, I think so. I think you got the choruses, you got the bangers for it. Like, I think it's just a generational thing with how the music industry is.
We're definitely doing we're doing a old time. You know what I mean? We're not doing what's 100% mainstream. But I also, again, the vision, I think we can make this shit mainstream again. And,
I think so too.
And be that band like that. That's really, I want to make it. I want to do for a handful of kids what Green Day did for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
That when I think about like that's the goal. And there's obviously like there's little things, and obviously there's things that I would like to achieve within sales and shows and stuff like that. But that, fuck all that. That's it. That's it. I want to be able to do for one or many kids what Green Day and all of those bands did for me. That's it. That's what I want to do.
Absolutely. Hey, I'll take that answer. That works. And then one other one. This one's a little more realistic, but I think this is a good one to ask. Like, especially, I've seen the tours you've done or that you're doing upcoming. Whether it's kind of touring upcoming with like Pop Evil and The Word Alive, or what you did with Dayseeker, Bad Omens, Silent Planet, like you mentioned, Plotting You, Cane Hill. Put those bands aside, and this would be more current, but like, say you do a 3-band lineup, you're the opener. What 2 bands would you want to open for on a, say, US tour? If you could pick any bands that are going on right now, I will limit that to because we'd all probably fucking say like the Beatles or something if we could. Just like the biggest band in the world. But like something that like could potentially happen.
It's tough to like even narrow it down. I mean, I'll tell you, I would take another Bad Omens tour in a heartbeat.
That band has actually blown up, so that's actually a huge
that band's blown up. Even like we did 5 shows with them in September, and they've blown up exponentially since then. Even like
I was talking to a friend of mine or I was in a thread with a band that I'm kind of friends with, and they were asking about like opening tours and or like doing shows with another band or something like that. Someone mentioned Bad Omens, and then you look at the Spotify numbers and you're like, man, like not that Spotify numbers or anything, but this band has jumped up like 3 million listeners or something in the past 2 months. Like I mean, know.
That's a very real metric. Yeah. That band is getting that big.
Yeah, that band's massive.
So I mean, I guess like I could make so many of these because they are so.
I know it's a tough question.
It's a tough question because so much comes to mind. Because I mean, there's so many amazing bands I would love the opportunity to open for, but. For the sake of this question, let's say Bring Me the Horizon, Bad Omens, Avoid. That would be an incredible show.
And you would rip on that tour too. That would be so good. That would make a lot of sense too. Well, you know,
let's manifest that.
You took the words out of my mouth. I'm gonna say we're putting that out in the world. That's gonna happen in the next, let's say in the next 18 months. You know, next record cycle in 18 months. Right there we go.
Hey, man, that would be so incredible.
All right, man. Well, before I let you go, there's 2 things. One, if you can plug either where people can find you or the band, and I always play a song at the end for people to listen to. So you know you can kind of say your plugs, whatever else first, and then think about what song from Avoid you want to play at the end.
Dude, absolutely. So, I mean, Avoid Kicks Ass. Avoid Kicks Ass is everything. We made it super easy. Facebook.com/Avoid Kicks Ass. Avoid Kicks Ass on Instagram. Avoid Kicks Ass on Twitter. Avoid Kicks Ass on TikTok. Avoid Kicks Ass on Twitch. Go on any social media platform, and if we have an account on there, it'll be under that username. So, Avoid Kicks Ass. AvoidKicksAss.org. Remember that, not .com, motherfucker. AvoidKicksAss.org.
It'll be in the notes too. It'll be in the notes too, guys.
Yeah. Avoid Kicks Ass on anything. Just Google it. You'll figure it out. And you can find me at benny.scholl on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. You can add me on Facebook if you want, but I won't accept your friend request. You can follow me on Twitter. I think it's either at Benny Scholl or Benny.Scholl. Super easy. Also, if you follow Avoid, it's really easy to find me through that. And this is Gatorfest by Avoid, you dumb idiots.
All right. So we'll play. That was amazing. Amazing way to say that. I love it so much, Benny. All right. We're going to play Gatorfest at the end of this for Benny with the band Avoid for the PowerLess podcast. Benny, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciated the time, man.
Dude, appreciate you having me, man. This has been such a fun conversation.